Hello, and thank you for watching this video. This video is brought to you by betaplan.co.uk. This video is part of our Permitted Development Rights series, a bunch of short videos with the aim of giving the essential information of how to extend your home without planning permission. In this particular video, we'll deal with outbuildings, which could be a garage, a gym, an office, a playroom, a swimming pool. It's probably easier to say what they can't be. The rules allow, subject to the conditions and limitations to be discussed, a large range of buildings on land surrounding a house. Examples could include common buildings such as garden sheds, other storage buildings, garages, as long as they can be properly described as being purpose incidental to the enjoyment of the house. A purpose incidental to the house would not, however, cover normal residential uses such as self-contained living accommodation, nor the use of an outbuilding as the primary living accommodation such as a bedroom, a bathroom or a kitchen. Now we have a detached house on a large corner plot with a fence, perimeter, front elevation, side garden and rear garden. If we take a look at the plan view, we start going through some of the requirements to comply with outbuildings. They're not permitted when a dwelling has been granted by virtue of Class M, N, P, PA or Q, i.e. a change of use or a barn conversion, something like that, so they cannot have permitted development right for outhouses on. To comply with the rules, the total area of ground covered by buildings within the curtilage should not exceed 50% of the curtilage. Curtilage being the garden, and that is minus the house off that. So the garden space minus the house. Any part of the building should not be situated forward of the principal elevation of the original dwelling. The outhouse can only be of a single story. The height in terms of a dual pitch roof can be a maximum of 4 meters. If the building is within 2 meters of the boundary, the height maximum can only be 2.5 meters and 3 meters in any other cases away from the boundary. The eaves height of the building should not exceed 2.5 meters. There can't be any verandas, balconies or raised platforms. And in cases where the dwelling is on a World Heritage Site or a national park or an area of outstanding beauty or the Broads, the outbuilding must be within 20 metres of the dwelling and not exceed 10 metres square. For interpretation, purpose incidental to the enjoyment of the house as such includes the keeping of animals, livestock, domestic needs, or the personal enjoyment of the occupants of the dwelling house. Looking at this plot, in this case it's 460 meters square. That is excluding the house, so that is just garden area. Now 50% of that, 230 meters square, is highlighted in green there. That is potentially what can be developed. If we look at what would be classed as past the principal elevation, the area highlighted in red is shown, which could not be developed. The principal elevation, in most cases, the principal elevation will be the part of the house that fronts directly or at an angle the main highway serving the house. The main highway will be the one that sets the postcode for the house concerned. It will usually contain the main architectural features such as bay window, porch, and serve the main entrance to the house. Usually, but not exclusively, the principal elevation will be understood to be the front of the house. There will only be one principal elevation to the house, where there are two elevations which may have character of the principal elevation, for example, corner plot. A view will need to be taken as to which of these forms the principal elevation. Now if we add a double garage to the side of the property in line with the principal elevation. This garage is 2 meters away from the boundary, so the maximum height can be achieved of 4 meters to the ridge, which is there to there, and this one is 2 meters away from the boundary. Go on to our next option. If we now add a building to the rear garden similar to the front, the example is 2 meters from the side and the rear boundary to enable the maximum height to be achieved. Right, 2 meters from there and 2 meters from there. Now if we wanted to move it closer to the boundary, that wouldn't comply. The height would be affected, so it'd have to be reduced to 2.5 meters in height, which could be done via a flat roof. Now when considering your ground levels, the height is always taken from the highest ground level. In the case shown, the ground level drops away, so the 2.5 meters for the eaves height would be taken from there, which as we can see is 2486 millimeters, which is just under 2.5. Obviously it drops away at the back, but that is an issue because the height is taken from the front. This can still only be single story, so you wouldn't be able to develop anything underneath because it would make it 2-story. Another scenario, if we add a road, if we look at the corner plot with a road to the front being front road and the road to the side being side road, these not being the same road, the postcode being enabled from the front, an outbuilding can be built on the side of a principal elevation facing the front road. If I repeat the earlier comments on the principal elevation, in most cases the principal elevation will be the part of the house which fronts directly onto the main highway, in which case this is. Now the reason I highlight this is, if you're applying for an attached garage under permitted development right, this would be a side extension, and because it faces the side road you would have to apply for planning permission for this. But in terms of outbuildings, that should be okay to build as an outbuilding because a principal elevation is front road and not side road, and there's no requirement that an application should be required if it's closer the main highway. Obviously there are instances where permitted development rights are not allowed, where the rights have been removed in designated areas, in conservation areas and on listed buildings. Subject to the size of the building that you're building, building regulations may be required. Not always, it depends on the use and the size of the building that you're doing. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe and leave any comments.